fight alone will make us rich beyond our wildest dreams.
Guten Krampusnacht, everyone, and welcome to the Disenfranchised Podcast, where that podcast all about those franchises of one, those films that fancy themselves full-fledged franchises before falling flat on their face after the first film. I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy, and joining me today, as always, he wasn't sure if he was going to make it through this movie, but after getting his ass kicked by a bunch of Christmas cookies, he trusted himself that he could take it. It's Tucker. Hey, Tucker.
Hello, Stephen. How are you doing?
I am well, sir. Thank you for asking, sir.
That's great.
How about yourself?
Well, let me tell you, this may seem a little nitpicky, but you see, I like to smoke the devil's lettuce.
Oh, a thing that is legal in New Hampshire, where you reside?
No, actually, it's not.
Oh,
but it's legal in Maine, and I live 10 minutes from Maine, so fuck off, whatever. So, as you can see, this cartridge that I have.
That cartridge in a pear tree there, yep.
There you go. You see how it's about a third of the way full?
Mm-hmm.
Look at all that sweet marijuana vapor right there. Just
vape juice.
Just right there, encased in this little glass cartridge. Well, this cartridge does not like to work. And over the last 2 days, I've had some frustrating moments with it. And I'm not sure what's going on with it, but what worked last night was to take this little device, which is, as you can see, you'll recognize it as a SIM card thingy for a cell phone. You put it in the little hole and the compartment comes out.
Correct.
It's the perfect size for these contacts. And so I clean those out and try it again, and it usually works, but it's very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. And the reason I bring it up is because since I cleaned it out last night, both ends, the cartridge and the battery, it's worked fine since last night. And then as soon as we started this podcast and I heated it up enough to where it had unclogged itself, it has decided not to work. Again.
That is frustrating.
And the second frustrating thing is I forgot last night that I can't just clean this little thing with my fingers because it's also sticky. I need a tissue to help me out.
Do you need to take a pause for the cause and grab a tissue?
Well, I don't need to pause because I'm sure, I'm sure you can hear me from all the way over here. And I'm back.
You heard me, right? Just a master of Foley work there. Yes, we did.
I really am.
Hear you just receding into the background there.
How does one become a Foley artist? Because I've always wanted to, but I guess it seems like it's just something that you probably just... There's probably a lot of people who are Foley artists who would have at least a few interesting chapters of a memoir, for sure. Because it's like, well, I was just walking down the street and I bumped into this guy and then the story would just go from there. Because I don't can you go to school for that? I don't think you can. Like you go to audio production or whatever, sure, for like the recording and all that, but like figuring out what noise makes a good noise, a substitution noise for like this thing or that thing.
According to screenskills.com, there are no set routes to becoming a Foley artist, but many people work their way up from being runners in a post-production or audio post-production house. A background in sound recording is useful. And you have that.
Definitely. A little bit, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I've always kind of wanted to do that. I wondered. I used to be on this one of those gig websites for like artists and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there was always stuff for like voiceover and shit. And like the qualification seems to be really low. And I was like, wow,
have voice will travel. Low? Yeah.
But then I realized how all of these people who have no talent or no experience are getting all this voice work because I have a toddler who watches YouTube. And there's a lot of toddler brain rot.
Oh, yeah.
That comes specifically from the Ukraine, which is weird. I don't know why it specifically comes from there, but some of them
Are
don't
you talking
speak
about
English.
Masha and the Bear?
Oh no, I like Masha and the Bear. That's not
Oh,
brain
okay.
rot. That's quality children's television. This is like absolute fucking brain. You can't even imagine this shit. But anyway, some of them don't speak English or their accents are too thick, so they hire voiceover artists to do the voiceover, and it's all really terrible. They paid the least amount of money for it, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. Well,
And
I'm
look at that. I
particularly.
cleaned both contacts and it works.
There you go.
I mean,
And
at least
while
it's
you are prone to smoking, while marijuana is legal in Illinois, where I live, I have opted for a different drug of choice today because we are
Wood disc.
covering a film tonight.
Are we?
We
No,
are.
we are.
That is a
We
thing
totally
that, according to the intro, that is a thing that we do. But I have a relevant beverage for tonight's recording. Tucker,
Okay.
what movie are we covering tonight before I reveal my beverage to the world?
We are watching The Krampus. The movie's not called The Krampus, but it's called Krampus, but I'm saying it's The Krampus because it is the big, well, not big budget, but modestly budgeted, Hollywood backed by an actual studio and
Right.
names that you've heard of movie about the Krampus.
Correct, because the Krampus is a public domain figure, so anyone can make a movie about the Krampus.
Don't ask your grandma for Krampus on Blu-ray because who knows what the fuck you're gonna get. She's gonna pick up the first thing that say Krampus, and boy, that's a crapshoot. I tell you what,
you're gonna have a bad time. But no, we are talking about the 2015 film Krampus, directed by Michael Dougherty and written by Todd Casey, Michael Dougherty, and Zach Shields, and starring MJ Anthony, Adam Scott, Toni Collette, Dave Koechner, Allison Tolman, Conchata Ferrell, the late great Conchata Ferrell, Stefania LaVie Owen, Krista Stadler, and many, many others, including some vocal cameos by the likes of Seth Green, Gideon Emery as the Krampus, and Justin Roiland, very canceled person, Justin Roiland.
which I didn't even pick up on. Like, I knew they were in it, I didn't pick up on it because I couldn't understand anything that any of the little minion guys were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all during scenes where people were shouting and stuff, and they had pitched their voices up so high, they could have gotten anybody, and I wouldn't have given a fuck. Like, it didn't matter.
Breen Burns from Invader Zim as well.
Wasted every single one of those voice actors. Wasted.
But because of that, I spent a amount of money that I do not feel comfortable disclosing on a podcast to purchase this, Tucker.
It's a Krampus beer.
It's from Old Irving Brewery here in Chicago. It is a barrel-aged imperial stout with vanilla and cacao nibs called Krampus Cookies. It is their 2004 edition. They do a different version every year. And so I have elected to purchase 2 cans of this rather pricey beverage. One, there we go, to enjoy on this podcast recording, and the other to enjoy on Krampusnacht itself. So chances are very good that if you are listening to this podcast on the day it releases, in the evening, then you may be listening to it at the exact time I am enjoying my second Krampus Cookies beer.
So wait, is that a stout? It looks real thick.
It is an imperial stout, yes, sir.
It looks real thick.
It is hella thick. I'm gonna do
it like into the glass.
It kind of glugged out there. Not much of a head on this thing.
I would say it glorped. It sort of glorped into the glass.
Oh.
Is it good? Is it tasty? Is it sweet?
It's very tasty, very sweet, but also very sharp.
Oh.
Because it is an imperial stout, so you've got some of those hoppy notes too. But you can taste, the barrel aged for it, and it does have kind of a Christmas cookie kind of taste to it. Like it's very, very tasty, very chocolatey. Just a hint of vanilla running through to kind of lighten it up a little bit. That is a damn good beer. It is also,
fantastic.
Just for the record, 15% alcohol by volume.
Oh boy.
So
Steven, you better drink that slow. I can't have you slurring like halfway through.
That's a sipper. So I'm
Need
not.
like another beer to sort of like drink in between sips of that.
I do have my water bottle here.
Like a regular ass beer. Like get yourself a straight up High Life or something to drink with that.
And well, when in Rome, we drink old style. So yeah,
Well, obviously.
But I don't have one of those on my person, I'm afraid.
Oh, that's too bad.
But that is my drink of choice for 2015's Krampus. Now, this is a film that I watched last year around this time for The Pot and the Pendulum. They did a Christmas episode on this movie last year, and I covered it with them there. This will be a different discussion, obviously, because I'll be talking about things relevant to this podcast versus things relevant to that one. If you do want to listen to that discussion, though, I did do a huge old deep dive into the lore and history of Krampus. I'll probably get into some of that during this record, but that
We'll
would
touch
be
on it, sure.
Yeah, but that would be a good companion piece to this episode with friend of the show Rachel Reeves on that episode. So it was a good time.
Now, was that your first time watching it?
That was my first time watching this movie. I had not seen it before then, but I think this is a fun little Christmas movie. Spoilers. I had a good time watching this one when I watched it initially. Tucker, what is your history with this film? What is your history with Krampus lore in general? And initial impressions, first thoughts.
I have no history with the Krampus lores. Trick or Treat was a big hit in the horror community, and that was a big deal around the time I was frequenting conventions. So I've seen that and am familiar with that quite a bit. So when this came out, I wasn't able to see it at the movie theaters, but I was excited to see it because of Trick or Treat. And I went ahead and bought it on Blu-ray.
Yeah, you did.
Probably about like damn near 10 years ago, I bought this motherfucker on Blu-ray.
Just waiting for this episode to release.
And can I tell you something? I had never watched it until today.
Yeah.
Not once had I ever looked at it. Just sat on my shelf.
So you're coming into this one hella fresh.
Very fresh, but I did watch it twice today. So
you did. You watched it once with the commentary and once without.
I did, and I'll tell you, I'm pretty disappointed that I didn't watch it sooner, because I think I would have liked it a lot more. Because this is a fantastic movie. Like, do not get me wrong, but some of the things just don't hit the same now as they would have when it came out.
There are
kind
elements
of soured a bit of the experience for me.
There are certainly elements of this film that do not age particularly well, and I have a feeling we're going to talk about them as we get into this. So
we have to. Like 15 minutes into it, I was ready to quit.
You were about ready to tap out.
I'm glad that I didn't.
So am I, because then I'd be talking about this movie by myself, and I don't want that. We did have a guest that needed to pull out today due to scheduling conflicts, which was a bummer, but nevertheless, we persist.
Indeed.
And yeah, we watched Krampus, a dark comedy.
We watched
horror.
a Krampus.
We watched a Krampus. Some people bought a zoo. We watched a Krampus.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
It's kind of hard with that title structure. Yeah, this one. I had a lot of fun with this one. I really do enjoy this film.
I really liked the cast, especially for the time that it came out. And sort of now, because like I've always liked Adam Scott and Toni Collette and everything, and David, I can never pronounce his last name, from Run Ronnie Run and Saturday Night Live.
Keckner.
There you go. But Allison Tallman was just coming off season 1 of Fargo,
right?
Which was a big fucking deal for me.
Yeah.
Like I normally, like every time I think of her, like I have to look up her actual name, because all I can think to call her is her character's name from Fargo.
I mean, fair.
Yeah. Also, that gal that plays the older sister, whose sister plays one of the cousins.
Wait, is that? Oh my gosh. Okay,
Stephania Owen.
Stephania Owen,
her sister Lolo plays one of the cousins.
Oh, that's really funny. I didn't realize that. That's hilarious.
She was in that Netflix series what was it called with the kid with the deer antlers, Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth. Yeah. There you go.
And I initially watched that because Will Forte was in it, and he gives a fantastic dramatic performance in that show. Holy crap! And
Nice.
then like I really liked the first season, but I got about halfway through the first episode of the second season, and I was like, oh wow, I just really don't care. And then I stopped watching it.
Yeah, I couldn't get into Sweet Tooth. I think I started watching it and then got distracted and was like, I'm okay.
But
I don't need to. I'm good.
this gal makes me uneasy because she is the exact doppelganger of someone that I dated when I was younger. Like
Oh.
exactly
Oh my.
exactly that same person. And it's weird. It's hard. I'm kind of glad they got rid of her early in this movie because it's distracting, because all I can think of is like all these times in the past, which, I'm not a guy who's like, oh, nostalgia, let's talk about the past,
Right.
because I'm one of those people who's like, yeah, nostalgia is the opiate of the boring,
Exactly.
etc., etc.
Right.
But it's very distracting. Like, it was very distracting in Sweet Tooth,
Yeah.
because I'm like, oh, maybe I should call her. No, like the whole time.
No
It's
wonder
just
you had to
weird.
tap out of that show.
Very weird. Yeah. But there was somebody else in this film that I wanted to mention. Oh yeah. MJ Anthony, the kid that plays the main kid.
Yes. Yeah, let's
He
talk about him for a little bit for sure.
I know him from a show I very recently watched called Hysteria on Peacock, which is a really weird, fun little show that I don't really know how to describe, but Bruce Campbell's in it, so.
Oh right. I've heard of this show. I do need to watch this show. I think I would enjoy this show.
And that girl from that other movie's in it too, but I can't remember what the other movie was. But yeah, it's a really good movie, a really good show. I really enjoyed it. I actually just suggested it to my roommate, and she's watching it right now.
Oh, nice. See, now I know this actor from his role in the 2014 film Chef, the Jon Favreau movie.
Oh,
He
with Jon
plays,
Favreau, yeah.
yeah, he plays the Jon Favreau's son in that movie, and is
Oh, yeah.
really good.
He good in that? He
He's
good?
very
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
He
that
good.
movie.
He good in this.
That movie's
Yeah.
really good, but that whole movie is just like Jon Favreau's got a huge chip on his shoulder because people didn't like Cowboys and Aliens. Like, that is what that movie is about. Like, that
Hey,
movie
there's
is
a
about.
4K of Cowboys and Aliens, so Jon Favreau should be happy that there's enough people who like it, I guess. Or it's recent enough to get a 4K, I guess.
Yeah, I guess he's one of those, like, that movie comes out kind of bomb. We'll talk about it whenever we eventually cover Cowboys and Aliens, because it's gonna happen.
It's just aggressively mediocre, that movie.
That's the problem. But like, he plays the title chef, and it's a chef who's kind of gotten in a rut, and he's just like got a chip on his shoulder about how upset he is that a critic gave him a bad review. And so he decides to reinvent himself and make a new kind of food. Like, he gets a food truck and like starts taking it around the country and becomes inspired to cook again. And his son's along for the ride with him. And he's dating Scarlett Johansson, but then leaves Scarlett Johansson for Sofia Vergara. So, I mean,
Only in the movies.
right? It's one of those things where you're like, there are two directors that I know of that directed a film, cast themselves as the lead, and then cast Scarlett Johansson as the main love interest. And it's Chef and it's Don John, which is directed by your boy Jogo.
I own that. Still haven't watched it.
I'm
afraid to. I love Jogo, but I've heard so many bad things.
Yeah, no, that's
I love
kind
him
of
so much.
Same, right?
Like, as a human, not even just as an actor. I really like him as a human being.
Right.
So, like, I don't want to watch it and be like, oh no, Jogo, what?
I'm so disappointed.
I never saw Chef though, because
Chef is pretty good.
I always wanted to, but I think when it came out, I had just discovered and watched the movie 10-Inch Hero, which is another movie about a sandwich shop. And I don't know, like, I was like, well, I can't watch too many sandwich movies. There's a limit.
Right.
Teenage Hero being notable because it's a really good little indie movie, and Supernatural's
Oh,
Jensen Ackles plays a very against type part, which
I
is
can
something I
see
always
that.
like to see, especially for people who have been doing a show for so long, who them as just like this one thing. And that's why I wanted to watch it, and that's why I really enjoyed it, because Jensen Ackles really kind of proves that he's not just fucking Dean Winchester.
It also
He
has
doesn't just do the gravelly voice. Like, he has range.
Clea Duvall from, let me just check here,
Yeah, dude.
Everything.
Dude, yeah. It's really good. It's really, really good. I recommend it to anybody. I don't remember what it's about. I just remember it was really fucking good.
Well, according to IMDb, an artist gets a job at a beachside sandwich shop where she hangs out with a techie, a flirt, a rocker, a hippie, and a Wiccan.
Oh, yeah, that sounds about right.
That's
Like
what the movie's
Empire
about.
Records in a sandwich shop.
Yeah, like a Gen X disaffected version of Mystic Pizza.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. Yours was better. Yeah, I like that.
Oh, well, thank you. But
Teenage
yeah,
Hero, go see it, and I'll go see Chef at some point.
you should. I think it's on Netflix, so it's like not a difficult
Probably.
movie to see.
No,
So
it's on one of those.
I mean, what movie? I mean, Teenage Hero is on Fossum. That's apparently a streaming service that
That
exists.
is.
Yeah, that.
It's on McDonald's streaming service. Is that? It's so bad. It's on. Like, I didn't even know McDonald's had a streaming service.
Exactly. But Chef may not be on Netflix anymore. Let me check.
Oh, that's too bad.
Let me check with Real Good here real quick. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
have a look on there.
I'm sure it wouldn't take too much to.
I see it everywhere, though. I feel like I've missed my shot now, because like now I'm like, oh, I should watch it, but now it's just not anywhere. Whereas
It
now
is.
it's
It
not
is
on any
free with ads on Pluto TV.
Oh, it's on Paramount. I'm looking at it right now.
Paramount
It's on
Plus for
Paramount
Showtime?
Plus, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, dude. Oh, can I tell you? I feel like I've told you this before, but I just want to tell you again because it's such a cool thing. So, like, I never had Paramount Plus, right?
Right.
But I had Showtime. Because,
Showtime.
Yellow Jackets, Dexter,
Twin
I'm
Peaks: The
Dying
Return.
Up Here, Twin Peaks: The Return, all that stuff. Big fan of Showtime original series. Is. And a lot of those shows I'll rewatch. So I maintain a Showtime, like, for years. Since
Well,
like
there
the
you
original
go.
Dexter, I've maintained a Showtime.
Nice. And see,
And
I fell off on Dexter after the 4th season. I watched through, I think, the 7th. And then, like, right as the 8th season was starting, I was like, fuck this. No, I can't.
well, there's a lot in the latter seasons that is not good. But I'm not somebody, when it's a main character focused series like that, or even a franchise stuff like Halloween, I'm not somebody who can just walk away from it.
I gave myself, after Lost, I gave myself permission to walk away from television.
No,
shows.
I get that. I get that for sure. But like with Dexter, I mean, it does suck for a good portion of the last half of it. But there's stuff in there that I liked, that the reboot series season, I liked that quite a bit, because the last thing I saw of Dexter wasn't that shitty ending to the original series.
Right, which I heard
And
was
it's actually
bad.
People complain about the ending of New Blood, but I thought it was quite fitting, and I liked the way it ended.
Aren't they doing like a young Dexter show now?
Yes, and that's actually the opposite reason of why I liked how it ended, because I was like, okay, good, they can't make any more Dexter. This was fine.
Right.
They can't make any more, so that's great. But no, now they're doing a prequel, which I'll have to fucking watch. I hope it's good. But anyway, I steady stay having a Showtime since it's been available. And when it folded into Paramount Plus,
You just got grandfathered into Paramount Plus?
I did. I don't pay for Paramount Plus. I
Nice.
just pay for the Showtime add-on, and
Nice.
I get Paramount Plus.
That's amazing.
It's pretty rad.
That is pretty
fucking
rad,
dude. And Paramount Plus has got it's got all the Nickelodeon stuff on it. It's got all the
does.
Viacom stuff, MTV
Yeah.
stuff, like all that shit.
Road Rules.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Yes.
Yes.
That Paramount Plus, I don't use it very much outside of Showtime, but damn it, I don't pay for it, so whatever.
There you go. See, now for me, the big the cast member that I was most excited for in this one is Conchata Ferrell, the great
Oh, she's in
Conchata
like
Ferrell.
everything, dude.
She was in
Everything.
Two and a Half Men for
Yep.
like year. This is her like coming off of the end of Two and a Half Men. But she did that show for like over a decade. She was on that show the entire run. And then she was also, but before that, she was in like LA Law. She was in the aforementioned Mystic Pizza.
Yeah.
Funny how that works. She was in Network, which I really, the first time I
Yeah.
saw Network, I was like, holy shit, is that Conchata Ferrell?
That's
And
what got her
yes.
casted in this movie. Is the
Mhm.
director was like I love Network, and like when we wrote this part, this is exactly who we wanted
And she
for the
is
part.
perfect for it. Recently passed away in 2020 during the pandemic
Oh,
at the
sad.
age of
I had
77.
no idea.
Yeah, but is
Oh,
had complications following cardiac arrest. Was
it
77
happens.
years old, but just an incredible career that spanned basically from the 70s right up until she died. Like her last movie came out in 2020 after she passed. So like just an incredibly versatile player, but best known probably for just those kind of brassy, no nonsense kind of broads, which um, Aunt Dorothy 100% is. And as soon as she walks through the door, you know exactly what character she's playing. You know exactly what she's here for. And
Yep.
when she goes into the kitchen to make to teach the kids how to make peppermint schnapps, you know exactly that you know those kids are getting drunk tonight. You know that's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
dude. Yeah, dude. And if Grandma weren't so worried about the Krampus, she might have stopped it, but she was a little out of it at that point.
That I mean that's kind of she's the Ezekiel, I guess, is the trope in this, like the one that kind of, oh, watch out because there is Krampus coming. And of course no one listens, because why on earth would anyone listen to a crazy old lady talking about a goat demon opposite of Santa? Um, but
That
yeah,
murdered her parents, apparently.
right. I like there are a couple different endings for this movie, and there's a part of me that really kind of likes the one that ends on her voiceover talking about how she was left alive to, like, as a cautionary tale about keeping the spirit of Christmas. And like it's like everyone else is dead and it's just the kid standing there out by the snowmobile, and you just kind of get this slow pan across the snow as she says that, and then it kind of fades, and then he like goes running after the Krampus or whatever. Like I kind of like that ending. It feels a little cheap, but I still kind of dig it as just a very dark ending. We're going to talk about the ending of this movie as well.
Which version of this film did you watch, Steven? Because
I
I watched the
watched
theatrical
I watched the version that
PG-13
is
cut.
on HBO Max. I probably
Okay,
watched
I
the
don't know.
PG-13 cut as well, because
Okay,
not a lot of
probably, yeah.
fucks and a lot of fudges and people getting cut off before they can say fuck.
Yes, and not a lot of violence that you see
Right.
either.
And do you think that's something that holds this movie back, is the
No,
PG-13 rating? Okay.
not at all.
You
Because
think
it's
it,
not. I like. Well, no, it doesn't. I think it fits it perfectly. Um, because it's ambiguous what happens
right.
to everyone except for the one gal gets et. But even then, you don't know what that means. Like,
Right.
I don't know. I think it's perfectly fine as a PG-13 film. In fact, like if it were gorier than it is, I'd probably think that was forced. I think there is a naughty cut of it from what I've heard, but I don't know
Ooh.
what is involved with that. But the director in the commentary said that while he agrees that horror films being neutered
Mm-hmm.
to get a PG-13 is not a rad thing, that this movie was never meant to be like an R-rated movie. This was always supposed to be kind of a little bit, maybe a little bit of a family film.
Right. I mean, because depending on how you read the ending, even though they all get kind of taken down by the Krampus, they're all still together.
Yeah, and they all Mimby it too. And he's
Right.
watching them like, don't y'all fall out of line again.
Well,
I'll
and
come
see,
get you again.
that's because I have the other popular reading of the ending, which is that they're in a basically a Krampus-esque hell where they're like cursed to repeat Christmas over and over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Wait, which part of Christmas?
Christmas morning, obviously.
Oh, well, that's fine. What's wrong with that? It seems like they're all having a good time until they all remember what happened to them the night before.
Right, and I think
Like,
that's the hellish part, is that, oh, we have to go through this remembering that we all died, that we all got, fucked over, and then we have to do it again and again and again.
Well, there's fun to be had with time loops, though.
I mean, ask Bill Murray. At some point, you probably want to just kill yourself, right?
No, well, yeah. Yeah, dude. Palm Springs.
Palm Springs.
Happy
Groundhog
Death Day
Day.
to you.
And Happy Death Day, yeah.
Yeah.
Time loop movies are fun. I like those.
Time loop movies are usually fun. What was that one with Tom Cruise that we watched? Did we watch that?
We haven't covered that one. Live, Die, Repeat.
Sure?
I am sure, because they keep threatening us with a sequel, and Tom Cruise is the guy that's crazy enough to get it made.
Yeah.
But Live, Die, Repeat, I think no, that's the name of the book. What's the name of the movie? Edge of Tomorrow.
There you go. Yeah.
I knew it'd come to me.
Recently played a time loop video game.
Oh, that's fun.
Well, I didn't play it actually. So you know how I yearly I play all them Alan Wake games and Control and all that. I've spoken about that.
You have.
Well, the second Alan Wake game, not Alan Wake 2, but Alan Wake American Nightmare, is a time loop game. Yeah, dude. Oh, spoiler. Sorry. Oops. So American Nightmare is a time loop game.
I just recently purchased Alan Wake and Alan Wake American Nightmare for my PC so that I can play it at some point.
And it's old enough that I'm sure your PC will play it.
My PC is old enough that maybe it won't.
Oh, ouch. It's like 2013 when those games came out.
That might have been right around the time I purchased my PC, to be honest with you.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof. Does the first game come with the DLC chapters as well?
I don't know. I've not cracked it open yet.
It's funny that you bought that, because I bought that exact same thing for a coworker at UPS. He was trying to be a Twitch streamer.
Oh,
so I was like, hey, you should check out this game. So I bought it for him to support the channel.
There's not even any like cover on this.
Nope. That's why the slipcase is there, I guess. Is there a manual?
No manual. Nothing in here.
Oh, Steven, I wish I had the time to show you my special edition of the first Alan Wake. It looks like a book, dude. If it were on my bookshelf, you wouldn't know it was a video game.
But yeah, I can't tell if it's got the DLC on it or not.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's 6 chapters to the game proper, and then there's 2 special episodes, which are the DLC. So if there are special episodes after the 6 episodes of the game proper, then you have the DLC.
Then I have the DLC. And if there's not, then I don't.
If there's not, it doesn't. I mean, it kind of, those 2 DLC chapters give you a better idea of how the Dark Place works and what Alan Wake is doing now after the game. Mm-hmm. But it's not necessary. You don't have to play those.
Okay.
No, not really.
Good to know.
Yeah, dude.
But yeah, Krampus.
Anyway,
Krampus. I first found out about Krampus from the Christoph Waltz appearance on Jimmy Fallon in 2014.
Oh yeah.
where Christoph Waltz goes on Jimmy Fallon's show and talks about the Krampus legend. And I think, I don't have any evidence to back this up, but I think that's where the kind of memification of Krampus came from. So that, and we were talking about this a little bit before we hit record on this podcast, but at the time this movie comes out, Krampus has kind of become a meme.
Yeah, that's what we call it these days.
Like it had been like a fad or a meme or like something that does, I mean, it just kind of a bit.
Would you say it became viral? The idea of Krampus became viral in this global community that we now live in?
That sounds like something I would say, yes. But there are a number of films called Krampus. This is not even the first one. There are so many of these damn things. And none of them are, well, I can't say none of them, but like so many of them have nothing to do with this. None of them have anything to do with this movie, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are so many of these movies that feature Krampus as a character or as a, I don't know, as an entity, a villain, something. I mean, there's Krampus the Christmas Devil that comes out in 2013. Krampus the Devil Returns in 2016. Krampus Unleashed also in 2016. 2015 brings us Krampus: The Reckoning. Krampus Origins in 2018. Rare Exports in 2010, maybe the earliest appearance of Krampus on screen.
I always forget about that movie.
Yeah, that one's fun. That one's weird. That one's fucking weird.
Yeah.
You get Mother Krampus in 2017, and then that one has a sequel in 2018 called Mother Krampus 2, Sleigh Ride, SLAY.
Obviously.
And then you get an anthology, anthology Krampus movie called A Christmas Horror Story, also in 2015. But this is, I think, the mainstream one. This is the big one.
Which one did Asylum do?
Oh God, which
one was that?
Which ones didn't Asylum do? Honestly,
probably all of them. What did I say before? I'm interested in that. I'm interested in things I said.
You usually are.
What did I say?
This is the only one that is like backed by a major Hollywood studio and has actors that anyone would deem recognizable.
It's a mainstream film, if you will.
Yeah.
It was theatrically released.
Which many of these are not. In fact, if I just type in Krampus into the numbers, most of the movies that come up have nothing to do, like have no box office. This is the only Krampus movie with any kind of box office to it.
I can't believe this didn't get a sequel. It did really well, right? I guess we'll get into that, but
I mean, we will. Yeah, that will come up. But I mean, it did well enough. It made enough of a return back on its budget that you would think it would have. But Michael Dougherty is the kind of guy who seems to have trouble getting sequels off the ground. Because by all accounts, he's been trying to get a Trick or Treat sequel made since 2007.
I can't believe that hasn't been made because the support in the horror community is overwhelming. I mean, they give him, $15-20 million to make that. They're going to at least triple their profits on theatrical and video release.
That he puts that on Kickstarter, it's getting funded within a week.
Yeah, immediately. It's the Sackboy Sam, the merchandisable character from that film.
Yeah.
Everywhere at horror convention, a fucking icon. I would say when people do like shirts with all the horror icons on it, 9 times out of 10, Sam is on there.
Yeah, he has become a modern horror icon, and I see no reason why this version of Krampus could not also become a modern horror icon.
Well, I think I don't know. Because and maybe that's why we need the sequel, because we need to spend more time with Krampus.
Yeah,
because I think this is a great thing. It's everything about the creature itself and all of its minions and things outside of like the legends told by the grandma. It's very ambiguous.
Right.
Very, very ambiguous. Also, that ending, like what's all the
Very.
snow globes? What's that mean? Where
Right.
is he? Where's his house? What's going on?
Where does he get these
she said,
twisted toys and these demon
she
possessed
said,
gingerbread men?
she said he's a shadow of Saint Nicholas. So does that mean like it's a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde sort of deal,
Which I
or
would be
like
all on
a
board.
sorry, spoilers, Steven, cover your ears, like an Alan Wake, Mr. Scratch kind of deal? Like,
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that.
that's the thing, is like that's why I want a sequel to this, because while some of this stuff didn't set well with me, and that's my fault for not watching it sooner, but I'm really interested. I would want to see something, or maybe even like give me something direct to video with just like sort of a history, a real history of it, and then how that applies to like the actual what they're trying to do in the film. Kind of like well, not really like it at all, but sort of like what they did with Blair Witch, where you had the Blair Witch Project, and then that little special documentary aired on Sci-Fi, Curse of the Blair Witch.
They did that with
If
M.
we had
Night
just like a
Shyamalan
supplemental,
too.
what was which Shyamalan movie was it?
No, but it was I think it was right before The Village came out. It was like the Twisted Mind of M. Night Shyamalan, or the Hidden Door of M. Night Shyamalan. So, I don't know, something like that. Where
Adrian Brody's only misstep.
The Village, I absolutely agree that is a huge fucking misstep. Oh my gosh.
Speaking of things that don't age well,
I am reminded of Robert Downey Jr. A line I will not repeat, but Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder.
You never go full Simple Jack.
Yeah, Adrian Brody went full Simple Jack is what happened.
He went full Simple Jack.
Yeah.
You don't do that. You don't.
You don't.
Not even if you're Sean Penn. You don't.
No. Nominated, didn't win. As Downey Jr. says in the movie.
Has not aged well.
No.
Fantastic soundtrack.
Yeah.
Fiona Apple's contribution to that soundtrack, I will tell you.
Eddie Vedder's as well. Like, holy shit. Like,
wait, which one did he do?
You've Got to Hide Your Love Away.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Because I was like, wait. I know this.
Yeah.
I had to have you tell me though. Yes.
And it's amazing. Oh my God, it's so good. Like one of the best covers of that song. Like, holy shit.
Eddie Vedder.
I'm not a big Pearl Jam guy, but like, holy shit, that song's amazing.
I am a big Pearl Jam guy, and I will say that Eddie Vedder could probably cover just pretty much anything because he approaches it with such reverence. Pearl Jam did a cover of Crazy Mary by Victoria Williams. And not only did they fucking nail it, but in the recording, they had Victoria Williams come in and sing it with Eddie Vedder.
Oh my God.
Like, who does that? Who gets the original artist in the cover? And it's brilliant. It's fucking brilliant. Last Kiss. Have you heard Pearl Jam's version of Last Kiss?
Have I heard Pearl Jam's version of Last Kiss?
Jeez Louise. Eddie Vedder can remake any song. I'm convinced of it. Show me a song he can't remake.
Probably something really upbeat. I think he'd have a hard time.
Gangnam Style, I think.
Gangnam Style. Yeah, there you go.
That's not one I'd be interested in.
No.
But like, for my money, Eddie Vedder is kind of the cover king at this point. Everyone that he has been a part of has been just knocked it out of the park.
You know, I heard a rumor that Weird Al's baby is in love with Eddie Vedder.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I heard that she's just crazy about that Eddie Vedder.
Yeah, dude. That was was that a Poodle Hat song?
Not a Poodle Hat, no.
Running with Scissors?
Maybe Running with Scissors.
It wasn't Amish Paradise, or it wasn't Bad Hair Day.
No.
It was post Bad Hair Day.
It was definitely post to Bad Hair Day.
Oh man, Beat It came on.
That is Running with Scissors.
I was watching a movie. I don't remember what the fuck I was watching, but Beat It came on as a needle drop in a movie I was watching, and it made me think of the scene in Weird, the Al Yankovic story, where they're pretending like, of course, that Eat It is a parody of Beat It.
Right.
And Weird Al, as the Scotty Bros executive, is like, and Daniel Radcliffe's like, what's the song about? And he's like, it's like fighting or trying not to fight. Like I don't really know. Like
they told you, don't you ever come around here. Yeah. I once heard a pastor use "Beat It," the music video, as a allegory for Jesus as he's walking through the streets, and everyone's like, "Yeah, let's follow Jesus." The way that everyone goes, "Yeah, let's follow Michael Jackson," and I was like, "We're not comparing Michael Jackson to Jesus right now. Please tell me we're not doing that."
Actually, now that you say that, he is kind of Christ-like in that video. Because the boys are trying to get each other, and he's like, no. Look, it's okay. We're all friends. And that's strip. Jesus would have done that for sure. He would have stepped in and been like, you guys, come on. Come on.
Come on.
Come on. I just turned this straight up water into wine. Let's get drunk.
Don't mind if I do.
Yeah, dude. You know, it's
Take a
it's
big
very
old sip of
Christ-like.
Krampus cookies.
Especially the dancing in that video. Very Christ-like.
I know some people that would disagree with you on that point, but sure.
Hey, there's no historical data of how good of a dancer Jesus was, and I'd like to believe that he could bust an MF and move.
Okay.
That's just what I'd like to believe.
Okay. Okay. I'd like to make myself believe that planet Earth turns slowly, but you don't see me like freaking out about it.
No, the whole thing is just I want a deleted scene from Last Temptation with Willem Dafoe like breakdancing. That's all.
That would be cool. Or just
That
like an
was so
on-set
So
tape.
fucking
Or like someone recording something on set.
Him with the axe, just like doing the coffee grinder. You know what I mean? Like, I do believe it. This. That'd be fantastic. I'd watch the shit out of that.
Toni Collette is a modern day scream queen.
Yeah, she got like I feel like she had an early start and didn't really go anywhere for a while, and then people started appreciating her early work as she was doing newer stuff that was hitting as well. So it's kind of a weird, like a revival and hit all at the same time.
Right.
Her era at this point when she's making Krampus.
Like this is 3 years before Hereditary, which I think is her like just to the stratosphere.
Yeah, absolutely.
But she's also around this time doing the show United States of Terror. Or no, I guess that ended in 2011. But then after Hereditary, she gets Knives Out. Damn you, Krampus cookies.
That's a combination between Knight's Tale and Knives Out. If we could just get Alan Tudyk in Knives Out, we wouldn't even need to combine those two movies.
He would be a good addition to
put him in a Nolan movie. Let's do it.
Well, I was going to say a Rian Johnson movie, to one of those like big cast murder mysteries that he's doing now with Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
yes.
I'm stoked for Wake Up Dead Man. Can't say that I'm not. Can't even pretend that I'm not.
Knives Out,
dude. Nice. Yes.
And Danny Radcliffe's in it. Weird Al himself.
Is he?
Well, you just said that. That's what you implied. I feel like, or maybe I misunderstood.
No, I think you did, because I was saying Alan Tudyk would be great in it. Daniel Craig is in them.
Well,
did I say Radcliffe?
You did say Radcliffe. I know Daniel Craig.
I'm blaming like the Krampus cookies on that.
And you're not even like a third of the way through it.
I am sipping.
Barely sipping. You guys, it's December. You're just gonna have to expect us to be a little drunker than we normally are.
Also, we know what's coming. We have seen the future, and fuck this. But no, you got Daniel Craig, Josh O'Connor, Glenn Close, Josh Brolin, Mila Kunis, Jeremy Renner, Kerry Washington, Andrew Scott, Kaylee Spaney, Daryl McCormick, and Thomas Hayden Church.
And I will say what I said last episode when we discussed this very same thing, and Noah Sagan.
Right.
Because you know that motherfucker's going to be up in there. You can't make a Rian Johnson movie without Noah Sagan. If you make a Rian Johnson movie without Noah Sagan, you're not making a Rian Johnson movie, which is why Cabin Fever 2, even though Ty West has Alan Smithied it, well, not technically because his name's still on it. He's tried
It's
to
still
disown
there.
it.
Yeah.
It's a Noah Sagan tour de force. That and Dead Girl. I feel like I brought this up like 2 or 3 times in the last like
I feel like you
as
have,
many
yeah.
episodes. We're always talking about Noah Sagan and Dead Girl and Cabin Fever 2. Let's just
Well,
talk some more about Krampus.
I think we're just excited about the new Knives Out movie, honestly.
Anything that Noah Sagan's in, because Ryan Johnson is the only person that puts him in shit.
Honestly, yes.
And he's so good.
He's fun.
In everything that he's in. But he's not in a lot of like mainstream shit, which is why I'm always parroting the same fucking 3 or 4 movies every time I mention him. He's great in Looper.
Future episode of this podcast, Looper.
Really? I'm so excited.
No. Sorry, not Looper. I confused Looper with Jumper. I'm sorry. Krampus cookies. No. I'm sorry.
You got me so excited. There's no sequel to Looper, though.
There's not, but I don't think there was ever intended to be a sequel to Looper.
Fuck. Is that why we're not doing Brick ever?
Yes.
Unless it's straight up.
Unless it's a straight up, yes. You took the words right out of my mouth.
The thing about Brick is I'd feel weird about doing it as a straight up because it does have a cult following. Like, it's not like mainstream popular, but the people who matter, like myself, like have tattoos and shit. You know what I mean?
You do have a tattoo and shit.
It's a big deal for a certain group of people, of which there are probably thousands, if not millions. That's all I'm saying.
That's fair.
Indeed.
But I say modern Scream Queen for Toni Collette because we've got her, like, she's kind of one of those like low key like horror icons. You got Sixth Sense, you've got you got the Fright Night remake, this movie, Hereditary.
That was so good.
Nightmare Alley. Like, she's got a body of work, but the moment in the attic where they're all in the attic and like she looks up and sees the Christmas angel, the little cherub, and just lets out that blood curdling scream. I'm like, we don't have scream queens that do it quite like Toni Collette anymore. Like, just from the depths of her soul, that blood curdling scream. Like, and holy shit.
Unlike most Scream queens, which makes me hesitant to call her one, I want to call her a Scream mom. Because, like, Scream queens are usually, like, at least they start out as, like, teenagers or in their 20s. But Toni Collette was very, like, mom age, like, almost middle age when she became a, quote-unquote, like, Scream queen. I mean, like, that's my Scream mom right there.
We notice her collectively, we as a society, as a culture, collectively recognize her in 99 with The Sixth Sense, which earns her I think to this date only Academy Award nomination, which is a travesty.
Well, she's just not in the right movie. She's killing it, but not in movies that the Academy would ever fucking look at.
Well, and she feels so off in this movie because your other 3 leads are all exclusively comedy people. Adam Scott, Dave Koechner, and
I'd say Koechner more than Scott, but Scott definitely, yeah.
I mean, Scott was on Parks and Rec for like 5.5 years. Like, he's a comedy guy.
Yeah, no, he is.
He will occasionally do some non-comedic stuff like Big Little Lies, and he's fucking great in it. But I consider him more of a comedy guy.
Well, and that's the only difference between them is that Koechner is a comedian.
Right.
And I would say Adam Scott is a comedic actor.
Sure. I mean, yeah, if we want to get nitpicky about it, then
I'm a nitpicker, and I apologize, but that's just who I am as a person. And I feel like it's beneficial to this podcast. It pads out the runtime.
It at least does that. But yeah, I mean, Koechner playing kind of the role that he plays, like the loudmouth blowhard here. And I love that he's paired with Allison Tolman, who has just this great, she's hilarious, but she's also got this great sensitivity to her as a performer. She's
got a lot of heart that she can't like erase. I could never see her playing a villain.
Right.
Because she's just got too much heart. Like, from the moment that family stepped in, I hated every one of them except for her.
Yes.
Just because, number one, I knew her as what's her nuts, Linsky from Fargo, the
Right.
police chief, and I don't know, I couldn't see her as a villain because she's just too. I don't know. I trust her. I just immediately trust her whenever I see her. And in
And
this family, she's the one who's like, "Oh, I don't know." Like she's in it with them.
mhm.
She definitely voted for Trump, but she's she's the one
She
who's
absolutely
like,
she's the one that says the I don't know, probably the Democrats or something when someone's like, why is this happening or whatever.
yeah. It's just like when her family gets too much for people who aren't into that, she's the one who tries to rein them back. And I
Right.
think that's kind of the perfect role for her in this movie, and I think she was perfectly cast.
I honestly I think everyone is kind of very perfectly cast in this. This movie is
Agreed.
the casting is really, really, really well
Very
done.
well
Very
done.
solid.
Yeah.
I enjoy all of these performers doing really what they do best. And I like that this you get these comedic actors in here because the movie then does become a genuine horror comedy. And you find those funny moments inherent within, and it's not just the fact that the gingerbread men are goofy as shit. It's not just the fact that there's these visual gags that they're pulling off like as a precursor to the marshmallow buddies or whatever in the new Ghostbusters movies.
Yeah, right.
Like because they kind of have that's kind of the role they play, but they're not suicidal.
No.
They're homicidal. Like the
I
image of the gingerbread man with the sharpened candy cane lunging at Dave Keckner's face is while on fire is such a fun image. Like I laugh just at that image. It's so well done.
Well, see, for me, that was something that I was surprised to realize about this movie is the way that I viewed this movie, I guess, the way I perceived it,
Mm-hmm.
is that it didn't really seem like a comedy to me at all. And that's kind of what I expected it to be, was a comedy. But it was kind of truly horrifying and terrifying in some parts. Of course, towards when you get towards the end of the second act and the beginning of the third act, it gets so absurd that it's funny.
Right.
But there's not really like jokes in this movie. There's not a lot of jokes. For me, the comedy comes more from like this is horrifying and terrifying, and it's happening to this family that we've kind of grown very close to over the last couple hours.
Right. Because we've been forced to spend this time with them.
But it's funny because of how ridiculous this shit is.
Mm-hmm.
Not because of what they're going through or because they're telling jokes, but because it's a fucking gingerbread man and a cherub and a robot with a knife. That's the comedy, is the absurdity of it for me. At
For
least.
me, it's also the relationships between the characters, like the everyone sniping about Aunt Dorothy and how awful she is, like the shit with the son who's constantly getting in trouble defending Christmas all the time. Like they straight up bring up the Calvin and Hobbes noodle incident in this movie. Like, oh, they're like, these neighbors are in Florida, these neighbors are in Cancun, and these neighbors won't talk to us since Max had his little noodle incident, which is absolutely a reference to Calvin and Hobbes, and you cannot convince me otherwise.
I did not catch that when I watched it, but now that you mention it, yes, that's totally a Calvin and Hobbes thing. And you never, in Calvin and Hobbes, you never learn what the actual noodle incident was. It's
Right.
just,
And when Adam Scott
you know,
asks for clarification, the subject gets changed. So it's the same in this
yes,
movie as well.
that's fantastic. I
But
love that.
it's the shit like that. Like it's not even the absurdity of the situation. Like that becomes the humor. But I also I love that Keckner and Tolman are basically like the cousin Eddie for like the 2010s. Like the cousin Eddie's family, like the Dave Keckner is the Randy Quaid, Allison Tolman is the actress that plays his forbearing wife, who's just kind of has to put up with all of his inanities. And then you've got, the 3 redneck kids, the 2 girls that he clearly wishes were boys, and the boy who's just the least effectual human being on the planet. Like, it's that kind of, like, that's the kind of humor that I love. The scene where Max is like asking his cousin Howie all these questions, and Howie's just staring like dead-eyed at him, like not registering any recognition that there's a human being talking to him at all. Like, I find that very funny.
Well, yeah, I enjoyed that too. Though the first act almost they almost lost me.
Let's get into this. Why did they lose you, Tucker?
Well, and as I mentioned before, this is not the fault of the filmmakers, because
Right.
when this movie came out
In 2015,
the first act of this film would have been hilarious to me.
right?
Hilarious. The absurdity of these people, right? People like this actually exist? Maybe a few idiots,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's how I would have thought of it. But I haven't really had much of a reaction publicly or even privately around my friends or family about the most recent election. But the results of that election, I'm about to get real. The results of that election really severely damaged my faith in humanity. Like,
Mm-hmm.
for real.
Yeah.
Like, I am a changed person. Like, and I'm a goofy guy, so that's why I don't talk about this shit a lot. I kind of keep it to myself, because it's not like when you come to talk to me, that's not the shit you want to talk about. You're coming to hang out with me for a good time. You're not coming to me to talk about how much despair is
right
in the world right now.
So if you came here for a good time, you might want to skip ahead a little further in the episode, because we're going to get real for a while.
But that really, my faith in humanity took a huge hit, more than I ever thought that it could.
Right.
Like, my sort of hopes and dreams and expectations for the reality of the average human being for the last, at least 20, 25 years,
mm-hmm.
shattered.
Yeah.
Completely fucking shattered. And so when this movie tried to sort of make comedy out of these sort of stereotypical right-wing
your
people,
your stereotypical red state voters, as it were,
the only thing it did, it just depressed me. I finished the first act of this movie, and I don't know how, but I timed it perfectly. I stopped the movie, and I went out and I had a smoke. And I just kind of decompressed for a minute. Then I came back to the movie, and Steven, I had a fantastic time after that.
Good. Because you texted us. I was sitting at a brewery with my partner.
Literally distraught.
And I got a text saying, if I didn't have to watch this turd for the podcast, I would have walked out after the first 15 minutes. Is what you?
I would have turned it off. I would, if I were watching this as just a dude instead of as a podcast guy, watching it for a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I would have turned it off, and that would have been a mistake. Yeah. But the biggest mistake that I made was not watching this motherfucker until now.
This is kind
Especially
of
since I've owned it. Since I've owned it. I've owned it this whole time.
This is your hot rod, basically.
This entire time. Kind of, but like with a monkey's paw ending.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, fuck you. You waited too long.
Right. Now this shit isn't funny anymore. Yeah, it's tough to laugh at this kind of shit anymore, knowing what we now know in 2024. Which is, again, it is kind of a bummer. And what Brett and I essentially were saying to you in the group chat is, yeah, it's really unfortunate that you feel that way, because this movie is really fun and really great. But yeah, in 2024, knowing that this is apparently a large enough subset of America that we can elect this, actually give this awful guy the popular vote is disconcerting, to be sure.
Well, I do appreciate you and Brett validating me, though, because I really felt like I was overreacting, but it was one of those situations to where like I was just so upset
I mean, no,
that I didn't care if I was overreacting. I had to express myself, and
yeah,
luckily you guys understood, and I felt validated, and I didn't feel like an over emotional idiot like
no. I mean, no,
like I
dude,
initially did.
we get it. Like, it fucking sucks. Like, I was had before we started the recording tonight. I came home from a party with some friends here in the city, and we had a good long talk about the state of the world and lots of like gesturing around at how awful everything is or how awful it likely will get to become.
Yeah.
Um, one of our friends announced tonight that she was expecting a child and is terrified because she has to travel a lot for work. And if she ends up in a red state and something happens to go wrong, like, is she going to get the medical attention that she needs? Like,
Yo,
it's fucking terrifying. It's a scary
I
place we
was
live.
I was thinking while I was outside right before we started recording that I think as a person of my age, a lot of times when I, complain about, oh, the world's on fire and like this is wild and I can't believe this, it my first reaction is that I'm just like being an old man about things.
Right.
But then I remember that I'm not that person. Like,
No,
I'm not a change resistant person. Like,
no.
I'm not someone who still, well, I still do, but I'm not someone who only listens to like the shit I listened to when I was a teenager. Like, I'm someone who's constantly trying to grow with the world. I'm not that person. So if
Right.
I'm concerned and upset, then there's probably something fucking wrong.
There's cause. There's a reason. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm not a curmudgeon. I can be curmudgeonly about certain things, as we
You
know.
absolutely
But
can. I
but
want to
as a
affirm that moment of self-realization for you, Tucker.
no, I can curmudgeon. I
No,
can do
you
curmudgeonly things.
like the best of them.
Hey, if you're gonna do something, you might as well do it well.
Right.
But it's not a core part of my personality. It's a side hustle,
Mm-hmm.
Generally, I'm a pretty forward thinking guy. Like like
Right.
I was saying before the podcast, I'm not a nostalgic person. I think that in a lot of cases, nostalgia can be very harmful
Mm-hmm.
for
Agreed.
people, and maybe a little part of the reason, and no offense to anyone who is a very nostalgic person, I think that can be a very valid way to be, but I think in some ways maybe our proclivity to want to ignore everything by burying ourselves in our childhood is maybe part of the reason why we're fucking here in the first place.
Right. No,
Just saying.
you're absolutely right. Like, it is, and it's part of the reason why Brett and I have said since the beginning of this podcast that there is something inherently toxic within a lot of fandoms, because anytime, like, fan is short for fanatic, and anytime you're that committed to something that is ultimately meant for entertainment, there's an element of toxicity, of arrested development within that keeps you from engaging with the world around you, that keeps you from being aware of what's happening in various parts of this world. I was talking to a friend tonight who's like, yeah, in you Americans can probably not name another world leader, to which I said correct. And he was like, everyone in the world knows
Current?
about. Do what?
Former? Current? Former? I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to derail you. I'm
No,
just saying I can
current.
probably name about 8 to 10, maybe.
No,
Anyway,
current.
I
Yeah.
listen to a lot of NPR,
Okay.
like
Well,
all
then I
day.
would say
So
you're
that's...
the exception that proves the rule. Then.
I'm so sorry, Steven.
No,
I
you're
didn't
fine.
mean to, but I was like, wait a minute, I can totally come on.
Okay, you're the exception, Tucker. You're a higher class of American than most of the ones that I
I'm
deal with on a daily basis.
maybe.
But
Don't tell me that because I'll get a big head. You know how I am.
okay, then you suck and you're terrible, and why do you even bother?
Oh, that's so much better. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for putting me in check, dude. Don't let me get on my high horse. That's a really tall fucking horse, dude. You don't want me to get up on that motherfucker.
I don't know if you realize how high this horse really is. It gets
man.
up there. But he's like, everyone in the world knows about Trump and knows about whoever Harris who's running against him. Like,
yeah,
we have to. Like, the rest of the world has to. And he's not from America. He's from another country. But like, he's like, the rest of the world kind of has to know who these people are, because you are the world's superpower at this point. And as America go, like there are stakes for the rest of the world and what happens in this country beyond just us and the fact that our lives are probably going to get worse. That has actual ramifications for other parts of the world as well. And that's something that I think we often don't think about.
Well, I mean, even the most primal survival of the rest of the world. Like we've elected someone who is a climate change denier.
Mm-hmm.
The person that he's putting into the EPA is someone who's just gonna Can we talk about fucking Krampus, Steven? I don't want to talk about this shit anymore, man. I'm trying to have a good time, man.
Absolutely. I want
Let's talk about Krampus. Fuck that.
We needed
Fuck all that shit.
We needed to address that because that was a big part of your experience with this movie this time. But we can move on for sure. Like
good.
Sorry
to stop mid sentence, but I just realized, like, fuck, I do not want to talk about this at all.
And that's
not
okay.
now, not really ever. If I don't have to, honestly,
right.
If I could just internalize all this, that'd be fantastic.
Sure, understood. I'm probably gonna have to put a political trigger warning on this episode on the show notes for this one.
If you feel like you need to, I will publish it.
All right, I'll throw it on there. So yeah, just so the people know, because it's not usually a thing that we do on this podcast, but we're also not a podcast that's going to shy away from something difficult, talking about something difficult just because it comes up in a movie that we're talking about. So, I mean, that topic is absolutely relevant to this movie and what we're talking about today. So I think it fits.
And I'll probably hate myself for saying this, but if you do have a rebuttal or maybe something different to say from a different perspective, we'd love to hear that in the comments, because I think a lot of the reason why we are where we are right now is because seeds of division have been sown, and I'd rather talk to someone and try to find a common ground than just hate everyone blindly. So let me know in the comments if you think that I'm overreacting. Maybe I am. If you think I'm an idiot, maybe I am. Let's straight up talk about it.
You can find the comments at patreon.com/disenfranchpod. If you join at the free level, you get access to the official conversation of the Disenfranchised podcast. Costs nothing to join. Although if you do want to throw us a few extra bucks, there's a lot more in it for you if you do. But you can get all of your main feed episodes dropped directly to Patreon, and you can actually comment there and share your thoughts with us. You can also email us, disenfranchpod@gmail.com. Not to throw everything off with the plugs early, but
I'll tell you, this has gotten too serious, Steven. I'm not a serious person. Okay.
Quick, say something silly.
Hoobastank?
That works. What? So this is a question that I actually thought about wanting to ask you this while this movie was playing for me today.
Sure.
What do you think about? Because I know you're a Christmas music guy. You're a man who enjoys listening to Christmas music. What are your thoughts about the use of Christmas music within the context of this movie? Do you think it's used well? Do you think it could be used better? Like, what are kind of your thoughts there?
Well, I hate to disappoint you, Steven, but I don't really have a strong opinion on it outside of the fact that I thought the lyrics to the Krampus song during the credits were not as clever as they could have been, but I
Sure.
thought the usage of all the Christmas music in this film fit the tone and what was happening. Like, it never felt out of place. I enjoyed the Bright Eyes song at the end. That was
Mm-hmm.
fun. When I was like, "Ooh, that's nice. That sounds like something I like." Then I was like, "Oh, it's Bright Eyes. Yeah, that tracks." Like,
That makes
like
sense.
I was,
That's why.
yeah, like I thought it was all fine. Like, it either worked or I was indifferent about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know if maybe it was just the second watch through, but like I was very intrigued by like choice of Christmas Carol and things like that over certain parts of the film, and the way that they would use certain mixes of certain carols to kind of create almost a sense of foreboding in certain scenes. And I think specifically of the ending, like that Christmas Carol comes on the record completely apropos of
Oh, when the
nothing.
power kind of flashes back on, yeah,
Yeah.
for a second.
And you get that kind of that record just starts playing again out of nowhere. And everyone starts to kind of look at each other like, oh shit, where are we? What have we done? And you zoom out and realize they're all in a snow globe. Like that song in particular creates kind of a sense of unease that the actors, I think, really maximize. And that's why I go with the hell interpretation of the ending, just
Oh.
because, again, that look on all of their faces of just such unease is so palpable that I can't think of that ending any other way.
I really appreciate the ambiguity of this ending because it really gives you a scenario where whatever your interpretation of it is, it's going to be satisfying for your takeaway of the
Right.
film.
Right.
And there's the super vanilla ending where they don't stop and all look at each other and realize that they all like got murdered the night before.
Right. Which is
And
so
it's
unsatisfying.
he just opens the box and it's the Krampus bell, and Grandma looks at him and like winks at him or something,
Right.
and like it
Something.
pulls
Yeah.
out the window, and I'm like, I don't know whose idea that was, but have them fired maybe,
Right.
because like, oh my god, the ending that's on there, it's so good. It's so good. I love it's kind of a perfect ending for the sort of film that this was, for the tone that it was going for where the film had been heading since the beginning of the second act.
Right.
It was the perfect wrap up,
Yeah.
I think.
And that, I think, I mean, we love an ambiguous ending here on Disenfranchised. So
Most of the time, yeah.
Oh, let me caveat. We do enjoy a good ambiguous ending here on the Disenfranchised podcast. If you can pull it off, I think then we appreciate that you've pulled it off.
I'm looking at you, Spider-Verse 2. Fix your shit.
That's not really an ambiguous ending. You know exactly where they're going from there.
No, it's ambiguous
you're
because
pissed that you've got to wait for it.
They blue balls you, Steven, is what they do in that movie.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you know exactly where they're going after this. They're just making you wait for it.
I was having such a good time. I watched that movie. After I told those kids to shut the fuck up, I was having such a good time watching that movie in the theater. And oh boy, I was pumped. And like, they got the group back together. Here they're coming to get your boy. And there's the reveal and then it's just over. And you're like, wait, no. You can't, no. You can't stop there.
And now you have to wait 3 years for the next one.
Yeah. Look, this is the opposite of Krampus, which I'm glad I brought up, Across the Spider-Verse. Is that what it's called, the second one? Across the Spider-Verse?
Across the Spider-Verse, yes.
Because it's the opposite of this movie. Where, like, I liked Across the Spider-Verse all the way through until the end.
Mm.
And in this movie, the first act really turned me off, and I had an incredible time the rest of the film.
Once
it's the opposite.
Once Krampus introduces himself and once the family starts getting picked off, I think this movie really picks up steam.
I think for me, it's when they stop being like stereotypes and become actual characters, is when it pops off for me, which is
Right.
about the time they go and look for the first gal
Yeah.
that goes to check on her boyfriend. That's for me. That's when the movie starts to be good
Right.
for me, because that's when those characters become actual characters instead of basically just being stereotypes.
Right. And I mean, again, I've said this before, stereotypes are useful in that they kind of give us, they do a lot. They're a crutch for the lazy, but in the hands
It
of
gives
someone
you
who's skilled, it gives you an idea of where these characters are and who they
it
are
gives you a bit of a foundation for sure.
without feeling the need to completely flesh it all out. So that
Yeah.
said, we're not against stereotypes in general. We're against characters that are simply their stereotypes
Well, and I'm not
without
even
depth.
against. I'm not even, like I said before, I'm not even against the first act of this movie. The only reason it doesn't work, they did it fine.
Right.
It just doesn't work for me because it hasn't aged well.
Right.
That's not their fault. Like it's
No.
not like it's not a Looney Tunes thing where it's like this hasn't aged well because these are racial stereotypes.
It was wrong then and it's wrong now.
No, this was not wrong then and it's not wrong now. It's just not fucking funny anymore.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Which makes, again,
It was
good deal of
perfect at the
sense.
time. I wish I had seen it when it came out because I would have loved the first act along with the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
But my dumb ass bought the motherfucker like 10 years ago and never watched it.
I mean, that's where the monkey paw comes in. So there
That's
we
me.
are.
It's all on me.
Nothing else. Nothing. What else can you possibly say? At this point, Tucker, because we are an hour and 20 minutes in, we're fixing to wrap up here. We haven't done the plot yet.
How often do I get to veto the plot in 60? Did we determine that? Is it once a year?
I don't think we have bylaws for that yet. We should definitely come up with
did.
something. I don't know that we did. If we did, I just made them up on the spot last time.
I mean, we can do it. Only takes 60 seconds, Steven.
That's true. It does. And I do
You know
have,
what I mean?
I do have the coin of justice right here. And
I'm
have
the official egg timer of the Disenfranchised podcast. It's right here.
It's right there. So, I mean, we might as well. And while you set the minute on the clock, I'll let the listeners know that this is the part of the show where we recount the plot at the behest of the coin of justice in 60 seconds or less of the movie that we're covering. In this case, 2015's Krampus, directed by Michael Dougherty. I have the coin of justice in my hand. Let's see that if I, in my, let's say, 2/3 consumed glass of
3/4, Steven. Be honest, 3/4.
Fine, 3/4 consumed glass of Krampus
top
cookies.
of that glass is much bigger than the bottom part.
That's true. It is. I've got one of those Sam Adams pint glasses here, so it is a lot bigger on the top than it is on the bottom. I'm gonna flip the coin of justice, and we'll see which of us will be recounting the plot. Tucker, go ahead and call that in the air.
It's heads. Oh, he dropped.
I fumbled the flip. Let me try that again. I've had 3/4 of a glass of a 15 ABV beer. Back off.
Heads.
It is heads.
Yay!
So
I was ready to do it though. Like I would have been fine if I had to do it.
Now I have to drunkenly try to, and I don't know if I'm going to be fine. That's the point. I have to drunkenly recount the plot of this movie.
Do you want me to do it, Steven?
No, the coin decided that I get to do it.
The coin decided that I get to choose who does it.
That's
won.
Never how we've done this.
It's like in the footballs. It's like in American footballs. Like if you win the coin toss, it's not you get to straight up go first. It's you get to pick if you want to defend or offend.
Look,
and I feel like this
will
is the same thing
do
here.
it. It will. This is probably gearing up to be a just a disaster on par with our Speed Racer episode. Honestly,
if you insist,
I kind of do.
It's just I have the power, Steven, and I would be more than willing to do it.
I got the power.
I do. So you say the word. You let me know. Who's going to do it, Steven?
I'll do it.
It's my choice, but it's up to you. Okay.
No, I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
Okay. All right, you ready? I got it on here. You just start.
All right. Here we go. Give me the 30 and the 10-second warnings.
I will. You know I will.
All right. It's Christmas season and everyone's getting tased at the mall, trying to fight each other for presents and shit. And Max is getting in a fight with some dude who's ruining Christmas for first graders, and his parents are kind of pissed at him. Then his aunt and uncle, his aunt and uncle show up out of fucking nowhere with the cousins, and they bring Aunt Dorothy along, who's a bitch. And then Max is like, "Oh, I want to keep everyone in the Christmas spirit," but eventually everyone kind of like his cousins steal the letter to Santa and read it aloud at the dinner table, and everyone gets kind of pissed off. That's halfway. Fuck. So then Krampus attacks, and his grandma knows all about Krampus and tells him about Krampus, but everyone starts getting picked off one by one, starting with his sister. And then like all of Krampus's minions show up and they start killing off people too. And eventually they try to make a run for it. But then everyone ends up dying. Max tries to stop them, but ends up getting chucked into the hell with the rest of the family. And they have to relive Christmas, and it turns out
that is time.
And then we get the worst fucking kind of ending ever, which is the everyone jumps out jump scare. I fucking hate those. I hate the like last second jump scare. I think Crazies did it. Like Anna and the Apocalypse does it.
Everything does it. And those films that you mentioned, though it is unfortunate that the filmmakers decided to do that, at least they did it decently enough. Right. You've got movies like Steve Miner's remake of Day of the Dead.
Yes, that was another one.
They're just driving away, and you're like, I know what's going to happen. I know it's.
Yeah, here it fucking comes.
I know it's going to happen, and it's going to be really bad, and I'm going to hate it. I know it's going to. Oh, there it is. Yep, I fucking hate it.
Yep.
Hey, credits.
The one time that ending actually worked on me, and I felt was earned and deserved, is Carrie? Scott Derrickson's Insidious.
Oh yeah. But Carrie's the OG though, the original Carrie. That's the OG, like it's not a face in the frame coming into frame,
right? Well, that's like more what I'm talking about. But yeah,
okay, all right.
I mean, and there are other like final moment jump scares that I think work well, like Carrie, Friday the 13th, the original Nightmare on Elm Street. I think all of those work really well.
You know what one's really bad?
Do tell. The Rage Carrie 2.
I love that movie with all of my heart.
You sure do.
Their attempt to recreate that final scare is laughable at best. That's right. The best thing I can say about it is that it's laughable. There's an alternate version that makes so much more sense, but we'll talk about that next year when we revisit the Rage Carrie 2 in next October.
God, don't make me do that. We did it. We're done. We're moving on.
Every year. No, we skipped this year because I'm nice. I'm a nice man.
Look, if we have to revisit it, it will be because they make a sequel to the Rage Carrie 2, and we have to cover it on this podcast.
No, Stephen, I have absolute straight up power, and I believe that there's a straight up during next October. And I mean, it's one we've already covered on Patreon, though. So really, you're just. I mean, we could just re-release that episode on the main feed for free. That sounds lazy. I want to talk about it again. It's been a couple years. We're different.
It hasn't. It's been. It was earlier this year.
What? No, it was last year. We didn't do the Rage Carrie 2 this year. You silly bastard. It was last year. We did it in 2023 Spooky-thon. Well, actually, we did it in January of this year.
That's what I said.
Forward. I know, but the way you said it was like it was during Spookathon. But no, it'll have been more than a year, almost 2 years since we talked about it next October. And we'll be different people then. Like I said, I mean, there's been a whole election since then. Like maybe it'll hit different for us. Maybe we'll have different things to say.
My doubts.
Okay. All right. I'll tell you what. Here's my promise, my solemn promise to you, Stephen. I will watch the Rage Carrie 2 in the third week of September of 2025 and determine then whether we need to talk about it again or not. And I'll give it a fair shake. I won't do it just to spite you, Stevie. You know I love you. I would never do anything I only want you to have a good time. I tease you, but I would never do a bad thing to you, is what I'm saying. So.
If you say so.
I'm putting it in my calendar. September. Okay.
Krampus was released in
Krampus.
theaters on December 2nd, 2015. So almost 9 years ago today.
Wow,
Or I guess
yeah.
a little over 9 years ago today.
Yeah, dude.
It
Watch
earned,
the
it had a,
rich
wow. The
care.
Krampus cookies are doing their good work.
Oh, yum.
The budget was 15 million and it does end up grossing 61.8 million worldwide, 42.7 domestic, another 19.1 international. So does a good bit of business at the box office, which is kind of, again, to kind of piggyback off of a point we made earlier, kind of
Yeah.
surprising we didn't get the franchise on this one. Because
And
it
you wouldn't even have
feels like
to.
a layup.
You could expand on this story, or this could very easily be an anthology series.
Yes,
Very, very easily. So easily. How is there not a sequel to this?
exactly. There are multiple ways to sequelize a story like this, and the fact that it hasn't been done yet is kind of absurd to me. But here we are. In first place, now Krampus does open at number 2 at the box office. It opens number 2 opposite The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 in its third weekend. That grosses 18.9 its opening weekend to the Krampus's 16.3
What was
opening
it?
weekend. The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part
Okay.
2.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sorry, I'm sending you a screenshot of the calendar event I put of
you don't
watching The Rage
need
Carrier
to do
2.
that, but okay.
Oh gosh, it's too late. I wish you would have said that a second earlier. Oh, I sent it.
Yeah, yeah. I
Anyway,
bet if I'd said it earlier, you wouldn't have sent it.
those Hunger Games movies, they ain't bad, but boy, they're not really all that good. It's really the Stanley Tucci of it all for me that brings me to him.
He's so good in those.
He's so good,
It's
and no one's
it's
bad in them. I just
unfair
don't
how
really care.
good he is in those. Like he
Yeah.
is the best part of all of them by far.
My boy
The
Josh Hutcherson is in them, so like
you do
obviously
like that guy.
respect,
You do like that guy.
respect for sure.
And then the lesser Hemsworth is in there as well.
Oh yeah,
Not the least Hemsworth, but the lesser.
because he's smaller and younger.
Right. And then we get in third place, we get The Good Dinosaur down from number 2 in its second weekend, grossing $15 million in its
I don't think that did very
second
well,
weekend.
did it?
The Pixar film, let me check.
I didn't do very well, did it? I feel like it probably, if there's a list of Pixar films and how much money they have made, I feel like it's probably closer to the bottom than it is to the top.
Well, let me see if the numbers has one. I want to look into that. I mean, it grossed 123 million domestic, another 210 international, for a total of $334 million worldwide.
That's not bad, but it's not good for a Pixar movie, I'd say.
Sometimes they
How much do you think they spent on that? What's the budget? Not to get on a Good Dinosaur tangent or anything, because I really don't give a fuck, but I'm just curious.
You must give something of a fuck. The production budget is estimated at 187.5 million.
Yeah, they didn't
So
do very
doesn't
well.
doesn't even make its production budget back domestic, which is usually a good indication of a flop. In fourth place, Creed. What if there was a Creed?
I saw that at the movie theater and I cried.
There you go. And in fifth place,
Buffalo,
Spectre.
New York. Oh, is that the one where they tried to make Sin City but with something different? No, that's the Spirit.
Yeah, that's the future episode of the podcast, Spirit. God, I hate that
I can't wait. I can't wait to watch that movie because I'm probably going to hate it, but what if I don't?
You would hate it you would not hate it just to spite me, is what I think.
I would never do that. Never.
No, Spectre is the James Bond movie where they make Christoph Waltz Blofeld, but not Blofeld.
Oh man, I could not begin to express to you how much I don't give a fuck about James Bond. There's no way to express it.
I watched all those movies during the pandemic. I still have not seen the new one. The Cary Fukunaga one that came out like 2 years ago. Or
Oh,
in
it's laughable how much I don't care.
rounding out the top 10, we've got The Night Before in 6th place. Future episode of the podcast, The Peanuts movie in 7th place. I want to try to get, I know one of the animators on that movie. I want to try to get him on.
I'm really curious about that film because I don't know why, but it didn't do well, which, if it's true to the original Peanuts spirit, would track. So
Yeah.
maybe it's good.
Like I said, I know one of the animators, and I would love to be able to get him on to talk about that movie with us.
That'd be great.
In 8th place, future, or I guess future Academy Award winner Spotlight. And 9th place, future Academy Award nominee Brooklyn, starring Saoirse Ronan. And in 10th place, Secret in Their Eyes.
I've never heard of those last 3 films. Not once.
Really?
Really?
Spotlight's the movie about the Catholic Church scandal and the newspaper guys that broke it, like the molesting little boys thing.
I do like movies like that where it's like newspaper guys breaking stories and shit, but I've never heard of that.
It won the Oscar
at
that
all.
year. And then Brooklyn is the one where Saoirse Ronan plays a little Irish immigrant girl who comes to America.
Yeah, I have no idea. Never heard of it.
And then Secret in Their Eyes apparently has Nicole Kidman in it, which is usually a recipe for greatness in my book.
I know who Nicole Kidman is. That's the first thing you've said while talking about these 3 films that I've been able to.
You don't know who Saoirse Ronan is?
No, who's that?
You know who Saoirse Ronan is.
The Knack sings that song about her.
She was in
Ronan.
No, Saoirse. She's in Lady Bird. She was nominated for an Oscar for Lady Bird.
Didn't see it, though. I have to see it because somebody's in it. It's the mom from Life Goes On. She's in it, right? Is that why I have to see it?
Laurie Metcalf.
Laurie Metcalf is in it. Yes. Okay, yes. That's even better. Even fucking better. Let's go.
She was the little girl in Atonement.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I don't know.
She was the girl that got kidnapped in The Lovely Bones, that movie that is awful.
Didn't see that one either.
That movie is the reason that I am reticent to do a Christopher Guest watch through. She was in the French Dispatch, your boy Wes Anderson's French Dispatch.
I only saw that once and I really, really liked it. And then I bought it and I haven't watched it again. But I'm always this close to watch. It's always my second choice of what I'm going to watch. I'm like, I could watch this, but I could also watch the French. No, I'm going to watch this.
She's in Muppets Most Wanted.
Didn't see that one.
Oh, dude. She's in future episode of this podcast, The Host. Am I going to have to fast track The Host?
Which The Host?
Not the Bong Joon-ho one, the Stephanie Meyers one.
I feel like, did Julie make me watch that? When did that come out?
2013, so maybe. That sounds like something Julie would have made you watch.
Not. It would have to been after that, but yeah, probably. What's that about? I'm sure I watched that. What's that about?
Aliens. It's about aliens.
And it's like a YA sort of thing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Julie made me watch that.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds exactly like something Julie would have made you watch.
I remember not hating it, but also, like, not being obsessed with it. Like, it was fine.
Sure.
You know.
She's in the musical video for Ed Sheeran's Galway Girl and Hosier's Cherry Wine.
Well, those are music videos I watched on standard rotation, Steven.
She's in the movie The Way Back, future episode of this podcast, City of Ember.
Didn't see any of those movies.
Really? She's in really? I mean, she's kind of one of those great up and coming actresses now.
I was mad that The Way Back wasn't about Peabody and Sherman, so I didn't see it.
No, that would be The Way Back, which is actually another actual movie title.
Also about Pee-wee and Peabody and Sherman.
Peabody and Sherman.
Peabody and Sherman.
Future episode of this podcast, Peabody and Sherman.
And Pee-wee.
Not Pee-wee. Pee-wee's Big Adventure got a sequel.
I love that story.
So yeah, Krampus came out. That's your top 10.
Where was Krampus on it though? I missed
Number
that.
two.
Number two, nice, fantastic,
Number two.
good job, everybody. Well done. High fives all around.
The tomatometer score on Krampus is a 66%. Critics' consensus: Krampus is gory, good fun for fans of non-traditional holiday horror, with a fondness for Joe Dante's B-movie classics, even if it doesn't quite have the savage bite its concept calls for. It's got
I didn't think to compare it to Dante until then, but yeah, there's
a lot there to sink your. Yeah, there's.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Do I love this movie?
You might.
What the fuck?
Particularly
again.
like
Damn.
the gingerbread men have kind of a Gremlins kind of.
Oh well, yeah, kind of.
Yeah,
I guess, but
just in
yeah.
terms of their chaoticness. The Metascore is a 49 based on mixer average reviews from 21 critics. I'm starting to slur, Tucker. I'm very sorry.
We're getting there. We're almost there, Steven.
We're almost
Hold
there.
on, just a little longer.
I'm powering through. I'm so sorry. And the Letterboxd score, Tucker, want to take a stab?
I'm going to say this gets between a 3 point. Oh, wow. I'm going to say that this gets between a 3.3. Fuck, no. People like this movie. I'm going to say that this. Fuck. This has got me stumped, Steven. I'm going to say 3.6 and 4.0.
2.9.
Really?
Really?
Are you sure you're on the right one? Because
yes.
it's a meme site, not like an actual critical review site. It's just memes. Got it. Just joke reviews. I see. Because if it's something people like, then it would. Yeah, that's reverse psychology. I forgot. First rule of Letterboxd. It's about the memes.
It's all about the memes.
If only there was some place like Letterboxd where people actually reviewed movies. That'd be so rad.
Well, I mean, it's Letterboxd is a social media site first and foremost, so it's
I'm gonna start
have that.
letterboxedforreal.com. Letterboxd, but like let's be serious, guys. .com.
and you will personally go through and moderate every review and delete all the ones that you think are joking.
Yes. No, I personally vet anyone who wants to review on the site.
Oh, good God. So, Tucker, out of 5 stars, how are you rating 2015's Krampus?
Look, this is a 3 for me, and I think it's a better film than that, but I don't think that it caught me at the time it needed to catch me. And maybe that will change in the future. This is a film that I could see myself watching either next Christmas or the Christmas after. I love Christmas media because it's such a limited thing. Mm-hmm. Not limited as in there's not a lot of it, but as in you can only enjoy it for a certain, like, maybe 6 to 8 weeks of the year. Outside of that, it doesn't make any sense. There's no reason to engage with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And that's why I love Christmas music. That's why I have so many Christmas records. I listened to 3 Christmas records yesterday, Steven.
That no surprise there.
I listened to Brenda Lee's Christmas record. I listened to the Beach Boys Christmas record. And I listened to motherfucking Diana Ross and the Supremes Christmas record.
Look at you.
The one that has that very famous version of My Favorite Things on it. That's all over the radio this time of year. The rest of that record's real good too. You should check it out.
Well,
it's just called Merry Christmas, Diana Ross and the Supremes.
This has been Tucker's Movie Review Corner. It's a 3.
Letterboxedforreal.com.
It's a 3.5 for me.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun movie. I really enjoy it. I get a kick out of it. I think it's fun. I think it's funny. And this could become a holiday staple for me. But you know, with today, the date of this release being Krampusnacht, I felt what better time to talk about Krampus than Krampusnacht. So here we are on St. Nicholas Day / Krampusnacht talking about Krampus. So here we go.
Are you saying straight up Krampus night, dude?
Yeah, that's what it's called, dude.
Krampus night, dude.
Yeah. You would know. You lived in Germany.
I know the most basic of German.
You know German like I know Spanish. Not
Like
much.
less than 20 words.
Yeah.
Not counting from 1 to 9 because I can't remember what 10 is.
Shit, I can't either. I learned
Yeah.
that in elementary school, and I have slept a lot since then.
It's funny because I can count much higher though, because like if I can't say 10, but I can say 2004. That's a much higher number.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Numbers are rad. Languages are the shit, basically.
So yeah, we're the Disenfranchised Podcast. This has been our episode on Krampus. You can find us on most social media platforms except for Twitter. Fuck Twitter. At disenfranchpod. You can, as we mentioned before, shoot us an email, disenfranchpod@gmail.com, or join our Patreon. You can join for free or at the $5 level at patreon.com/disenfranchpod. There are like literally hours of content for you behind the paywall. Or you can just join the conversation and talk to us. Tucker or I, sometimes both, will respond if you do leave us a message there on a post. Tucker reads every one of them. He's far more vigilant about it than I am. But if one of us is going to respond, it's probably going to be him. And then I might come in later if I've got something else to say. Yeah. But yeah, head on over there, patreon.com/disenfranchpod. Join us, won't you? And you know, wherever you do find your podcasts, particularly if it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if you could please leave us a 5-star rating and review, that would be most helpful, helping us find listeners just like you. And we like you, so we'd probably like people just like you as well. You can find us where... No, I already did the social media plugs.
It's your social media now,
It's
Steven.
my social media now. Okay. Damn you, Krampus cookies. Straight to my head.
Strong shit.
I am gonna need to like eat like a leftover Thanksgiving dinner roll or something.
You're gonna need a loaf of bread, Steven, basically, to soak all of that up. Like, just eat an entire loaf, like a baguette.
I'll probably have some turkey, some smoked turkey with some gravy.
Word.
And then maybe like a roll.
Dude.
Yeah, dude. I've got so many leftovers.
Hit that roll first. That's gonna soak it up quick, dude.
Maybe a couple mouthfuls of mashed potatoes too. My sister made
a lot too.
The smoked Gouda mashed potatoes that are decadence personified. They are so good.
You say it's mashed potatoes, but like there's straight up smoked Gouda in that shit?
A wheel and a half of smoked Gouda. Plus a whole stick of butter and like half a pint of heavy cream. It's amazing.
Seems excessive, but I'm here for it. I hate
as you should be. It's fucking amazing.
Damn it.
My partner tried them and said they were the best mashed potatoes she'd ever had in her life. So,
damn, Gouda though.
Gouda.
I'd never thought of that.
Smoked Gouda.
That's brilliant.
I got it from Emeril Lagasse, and as much of a fad as that guy was,
made them, Steven?
My sister made them, but using the recipe that I had used for years.
But can you send me the recipe, though?
I certainly can. Yeah, absolutely, dude.
That's cool, yeah.
I got you. In fact, maybe I'll post it in the show notes. Who knows?
And see, that's something, actually, maybe, yeah, that's something this Thanksgiving I did as I normally do. I made the Thanksgiving meal this year for my friends and family that joined me for Thanksgiving. And one of the only things that I did not make from scratch outside of the pie crust was the mashed potatoes, because I've never done mashed potatoes before. And I'd really like to. I need something to motivate me to like do that. And if you have a good recipe, like that would go a long way. Next Thanksgiving,
just dropped it in the chat there for you.
I'm looking at it right now. Oh, yeah, I can do that. I can do all of this. Wait. Okay, yeah. Yep, I can. That's so... I even have tatty mashers, but I use them for other things.
I daren't ask what.
Well, it's not really that weird. Like, whenever I make, like, the plant-based ground beef,
Mm-hmm.
or the plant-based sausage, ground sausage, or even when I make stuff for meat for tacos for meat eaters and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had tacos since I've been on this little omnivore thing that I'm doing for a couple months.
Right.
But any kind of meat or plant-based meat that's like ground,
Mm-hmm.
it's really good. It's a really good way to like get it into finer pieces, like crumble it finer, not
Okay.
such big. Like if you're making taco meat, it's good because it makes it smaller instead of like big chunks.
Right.
You get it to a certain point, you just start using that tatty masher. It really separates it really well.
My sister doesn't use a potato masher. She's got one that's got like a little cross on the end, and she uses that and kind of like does like a little twist
Yeah,
as
I know
she's
what you're
going to
talking
break it
about.
up. Yeah.
I could see kind of using both actually, like using that one to start it out and then using the tatty masher to kind of finish it off. I feel like that'd be a good combination. Ooh, I'm gonna make some smashed taties next year, you guys. Get ready
Do it.
with some Gouda.
That recipe, I do stand by that recipe. That was like my go-to
Fantastic.
recipe for many years.
I'd never considered that. I'm hooked and I haven't even tried it.
There you go. You can find me on most forms of social media except for Twitter. Fuck Twitter. At Chewy Walrus. You can find the absent Brett Wright, who may or may not be answering the door right now for a Krampus type figure. May he survive the night. You can find him on Letterboxd and on Blue Sky. Letterboxd at sus_warlock, Blue Sky at suswarlock. Tucker, where can we find you on socials these days?
Oh, the usual places. I'm on Instagram and I'm on YouTube at Ice909. That's ICENINE, the number 0 and the number 9. Also, Tuck Mugs, Tuck_mugs. We haven't done anything in a while, but we'll drop something soon, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Like,
I keep meaning to send that one over to the social media manager, and I just keep forgetting.
yeah. Yeah. But, it's still there. We still intend on updating it. It's
We
not
do.
dead.
It's not.
Definitely not dead.
Definitely not.
I keep forgetting that I have a couple things to add to it, honestly. Maybe I should put that in my calendar too.
There you go. Put that in your calendar too, and then send me screenshots
I
of
will.
those for no reason.
Just for fun. Visual aids. To prove to you that I've done it. I'm a man of my word. I don't just say I'm going to put it in my calendar. I put it in my GD calendar, Steven.
September 24th.
I'll never forget it. 24th, yeah. Why not? It's the perfect day for it. Yeah.
All right. Well, fantastic. That is our episode on 2015's Krampus. Join us next week. We've got honestly, I'm kind of excited for this month. We've got a fun month coming up, and I'm excited to cover next week's movie. A more recent release, which we don't do too often. So I'm kind of excited for that one. In the meantime, you know where to find us. We've already done all that. So for my co-host Tucker and the absent Brett Wright, until next time, I saved the very last drink of Krampus cookies for the end of the podcast.
I'll take a shot of Granddad with that.
There you go. So here we go to Krampus and to the last month of 2024. Cheers. Guten Krampusnacht, everyone. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.
And also to you.